You know, they say it costs just as much to be positive as it does to be negative. Let's see how much optimism we can pump into each NFL fan base. Welcome into HQ Spotlight. I'm Chris Honorato, Kyle Long in studio. Mike Renner will join us as we take you through the Super Bowl hopes for all 32 franchises. Hope for all 32. We'll see. The hopes are high as they should be in Philadelphia, Kyle. Eagles are looking to repeat as champs after that dismantling of the Chiefs 6 months ago. Only two franchises have won consecutive Super Bowls in the last 25 years, but the Eagles are well positioned here to pull it off. All right, we're going to take you division by division, starting with the NFC East, where there has not been a repeat winner in more than 20 years. Here are FanDuel's odds to win Super Bowl 60. Philly is a co-favorite overall at plus 700, followed by the Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants. Let's bring in Mike now to complete the pushing the pile pair. Mike, these are your rankings from worst to best in the NFC East. Before we get Kyle's reaction, we start with the Giants at 23.
Yeah, I really wanted to go higher for this Giants team. I've been singing the praises of this defensive line all offseason. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence, one of the most underrated DTs in the NFL. And they add Abdul Carr to that mix, who I think he has a Jared Verse-esque rookie year. I think this guy's just going to dominate from week 1 all the way through week 18. But I had to go down to 23 just because they don't have the quarterback position. I mean, do I see this team being able to, win more games than they did a year ago? Maybe sneak up around 500? Yes. Do I see them being able to win more than like 2 or 3 playoff games, which is what it takes to win a Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Right? You just don't have that consistency on the offense side of the ball. This is kind of the calm before the storm. I think this is a team on the upswing, but as it stands right now, I could only put them at 23.
Yeah, they're definitely building something in New York, and he mentioned that defensive front. And as a former offensive lineman, I can tell you a lot of success and failure as a team is determined and dictated by how that defensive front you're playing against is. And if you're playing against the Giants, you're having nightmares in that team hotel the night before the game, bringing these young guys like Abdul Carter, outside offensively Malik Neighbors. He mentioned the quarterback being the ceiling, but the great thing is you've got 2 ways to skin the cat there. Russell Wilson, whole shots down the field, or Jackson Dart, a little bit of dink and dunk.
As the O-lineman, who would you rather be blocking for week 1?
Ooh, well, Jackson Dart, he seems like he's into the jewelry. Maybe he'd give the O-lineman some cool necklaces. No, like in all honesty, you can set your clock to what Russell Wilson's going to be about. He's been in the league so long. Why would you not say Russell Wilson?
Doesn't run around as much as he used to.
A lot of pre-snap calm instead of that rookie nerves.
Okay. Mike, Cowboys you have in the top half of the league here at 15. I know we're all still waiting for the Micah Parsons situation to settle, but where do you like Dallas here? Why?
Yeah, I almost felt bad putting them this low because to get to, a Super Bowl, you have to have high-end potential. You can't just be a solid team around the edges. You got to have a team that can, on a good day, beat anyone else in the NFL. And I think the Cowboys have that. When Micah Parsons is healthy, and not healthy, but on the football field. That's the biggest if right now for this team because you have 2 stud wide receivers, a combo that maybe 2 or 3 other teams in the NFL can even match. You have a stud pass rusher in Micah Parsons. You have a franchise quarterback in Dak Prescott. This offensive line, maybe still some growing pains, but they should be a much better run-blocking offensive line than we saw a year ago with the sheer physicality they have up front. So there's a lot to like about them, but then there's just some big holes. They're really thin in the secondary. They're really banged up in the secondary, and it just feels like the energy around this team right now is not where it needs to be if you want to be a Super Bowl champion, 7 months from now.
And Mike, check that. Dallas at 14 here on your list, not 15. Kyle?
Yeah, and you know what? Mike mentioned that offensive line, and they've made big investment into that group. They've got a lot of youth up front. You take a look at a couple big-time draft picks last year for the Cowboys, a guy like Tyler Smith there on the line of scrimmage. They are definitely investing in that offensive line. And obviously, the thing that people were so excited about this offseason is bringing in this gentleman by the name of George Pickens. It's really 50-50 in my book. You got to show it to me for the entirety of the season, but George Pickens is such a mismatch every time. You got CeeDee Lamb. Who are you going to guard? Where's the help coming from? You're in trouble playing against this group.
Washington gets all the way to the NFC Championship game a year ago, Mike. Jane Daniels, of course, the reigning Offensive Rookie of the Year. You have them at 10.
Yeah, I wanted to buy into this team more, but ultimately they didn't do enough on the defensive side of the ball. It was their downfall a year ago when they got trounced in that NFC Championship game by the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think it's going to be their downfall again this year, because not only is it bad, it's bad where everyone else in the top of the NFC is good. Their run defense. They have not improved that unit. They were the 6th worst run defense by EPA per rush a season ago. They added 2 guys in Javon Kinlaw and Von Miller, who at this point in time, they're not good run defenders. So that was the only additions. I mean, Eddie Goldman, Dietrich Wise, but those are backups that they added. I don't see how this team improves in that front 7 in terms of being able to stop the run. And if that's the case, how are you going to get through the Eagles, right? How are you going to get through the Lions, who can run the ball very well also in the NFC? So I do just think that they do not match up well against the top of the rest of the NFC. And because of that, they're going to have to win a bunch of shootouts. Yeah, maybe they can. That's why I still have them top 10. But I didn't have them, in the top 5, taking this next step that a lot of people want them to have.
That's right, Mike. I mean, they're going to have to win a lot of shootouts, and that's just what they did last year.
They won so many games at the very end.
One possession games.
Right.
If you play in the league, if you watch the league, you understand that there's so much parity, and every week it comes down to situational awareness, success on these coin flip type plays. The biggest thing that the Washington Commanders and their fan base have working against them was their success this past year. Expectations so high. And once that honeymoon phase kind of wears off a little bit, they're going to set into reality. And like Mike said, this team is limited in terms of the way they're constructed. But Jaden Daniels is going to have to be perfect if they want to make another run like they did last year.
And still waiting for Terry McLaurin to get on the field in training camp, right? I mean, there's a lot at play here. Can the Commanders pull off the same magic they did a year ago? Mike, doesn't take us long to get all the way to number 1 on your rankings here in the NFC East. And it's, of course, the defending champs, the Eagles.
They had some big losses. I'm not going to wipe those under the rug. Mekhi Becton is a big loss at right guard. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat along this defensive line. But they also kept a lot of that intact. They also added depth to this offensive line. They also went out and got a couple of pass rushers in Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari to mitigate the losses they had. And then, oh, by the way, Jihad Campbell falls to them at the back end of the first round, who might be who was the best linebacker prospect in this class, might even be an upgrade from Nakobe Dean. So there's a lot to like about this team. They were unquestioned down the stretch the best team in the NFL, and they win where it matters most, where everyone wants to win in today's NFL, the trenches. They are so dominant on both sides of the football. I don't see them taking a step back in that regard. So if that's the case, yeah, you're going to have to go through Philly if you want to raise that Lombardi.
Dominant both sides of the ball where it matters. And, this is a team that gets to play with an extra down because of Jalen Hurts, because of the nature of that offensive line, and the things they're able to accomplish in short yardage. It's just mathematically unfair to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. You talked about how they haven't had a division repeat winner in, 30 or 20 years. And we talk about the number of teams that have repeated Super Bowls. For every piece that went out the door in Philadelphia this offseason after the Super Bowl, they brought in 2 pieces that were lesser, but not much lesser. Okay, and they're developing talent in Philadelphia. That's the reason why it's sustained success. I love this group, and they play the game the way it should be played. Just kick people's asses up front and ask questions later.
Yeah, they're doing the development as well as anybody in the league right now. All right, Kyle and Mike, looking at the NFC East here in terms of Mike's rankings to win Super Bowl 60. Philadelphia number 1 overall. Commanders still in the top 10 there. How about the odds to win the Super Bowl in the AFC East? Bills plus 700. We mentioned Philadelphia was also plus 700 here, and so a co-favorite. We'll get to the third team also listed at plus 700 according to FanDuel, followed by the Patriots, Dolphins, and Jets there. All right, Mike, get us started here with the Dolphins at 29. We know how hot the seat is going to be for Mike McDaniel, and do we completely turn the page from what Miami has been trying to do here? You've got him all the way down at 29.
So McDaniel's an interesting case because offensively, what they're doing, what he is as a play caller on that side of the football, you're not going to go out and do much better, right? Like, there are only a handful of guys that you can count, probably on one hand, the amount of guys you'd rather have doing that for this offense. But it's just the unity of this team and the other side of the ball that is the big issue for me. Their secondary on paper might be the worst in the NFL. Minka Fitzpatrick and then guys who are not even starters elsewhere. It is just a bad unit, and they don't have a great defensive tackle unit as well. You're relying on Kenneth Grant as a rookie to step in and be a big impact player right away at a position that's difficult to do so along the interior defensive line. And then the offensive line is just going to be a mismatch. I mean, trying to cobble together this from what they had last year with Teron Armstead leaving, I just think Tua is going to have to get the ball out every single time within 2.5 seconds, or he might be getting killed. So because of all that, it's just hard for me to see this team really go on a stretch run. It's not to say that they won't win games this year. It's just that winning a Super Bowl seems very, very far-fetched for this team.
I was just talking about the Commanders. I said Jaden Daniels has to be perfect. And listening to Mike talk about the Dolphins offense reminds me that that offensive line has to be perfect, because if something happens to Tua, we don't know how long he's going to be out or if he's ever going to be back. There's no question that when Tua Tagovailoa is in that offense and he's healthy, Mike McDaniels just hands off the wheel. You know, Jesus take the wheel. Tua's great in that offense, but you can't guarantee that he's going to be healthy. So for the offensive line, guys like Patrick Paul, players like James Daniels, who have come into the lineup to be part of that offensive line, they have to step up.
All right, Mike, how about the Jets at 25? New head coach, new quarterback. They went all in on keeping guys like Garrett Wilson and obviously Sauce Gardner as well.
Yeah, I mean, this defense is still great, right? I think last year a lot of their issues were just the turmoil at head coach and then their defense coordinator going up to head coach and Jeff Ulbrich, and it was just a mess. This year I expect it to be a lot better with Aaron Glenn in the fold. And they're kind of zigging when everyone else is zagging, or zagging when everyone else is zigging, however you want to look at it. They're going this run-heavy, defense-first approach when everyone's going spread-pass game, and I think they can win games via that formula. Now, will it lead to the Super Bowl? I don't think so when Justin Fields is your starting quarterback, but I think there's a chance here that it looks a lot better 12 weeks from now than what we might think it is right now.
Yeah, they're building a bully on the offensive line there with their draft picks. You look at Fashanu, and then you look at Membu coming into the building with Justin Fields at quarterback. Mike alluded to it. They're going to have a run-first approach. Styles make fights. Some people don't want to get into a fight with a team like that.
Jets at 25, Mike Patriots are at 20. Mike Vrabel back with the New England organization, and a lot of people liked what they saw from Drake May in year one.
Yeah, I really wanted to go higher for this team, but there's just too much new. I mean, it's a brand new team from a year ago. 12 new starters, over half your team is different, was not there last year. New head coach, and even like one of your starters in Drake May going from year one to year two, that should be a big leap from him. So there's a lot of unknown here. But when there's unknown, it's hard to really gel that quickly and get it to Super Bowl contention. I could see playoffs for this team because it's an easy schedule in an easy-ish division, but I don't think this is Super Bowl just yet for the Patriots.
Tough team, good quarterback, going to get better in his second year. Obviously, big investment in the talent pool there. And Mike Vrabel is the X factor. We talked about one-score games with the Commanders. This is a team that I think this year will maybe lead the league in one-score wins.
All right, the Bills are one of three teams at plus 700 as favorites to win the Super Bowl. Mike, you don't have them in the top three. I've got four here for Buffalo. Why?
Because there's a lot of good teams in the NFL. That's why. I mean, it's tough, and they found that out. Unfortunately, over the past half decade, is that yes, they're consistently year on year great. There's like three other teams in the AFC that have that same billing, and they're unfortunately in the wrong conference. If you really want to be a team that gets the Super Bowl consistently, when you got to play Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, so that's why they're at 4, unfortunately. But it feels like this year should be the Bills or Ravens. It should be this year one of those two teams gets over the hump and gets to the Super Bowl in the AFC and finally ends this reign that the Chiefs have, the chokehold they have over the rest of the AFC. But we've said that before, and it hasn't happened, so we'll have to see it.
Dude, I mean, Sean McDermott, one of the longest tenured head coaches in the National Football League. We forget that. I was talking to my wife about that last night. It's like Harbaugh, Reed, and Sean McDermott. If the window's open now. If not now, then when? You've got an MVP quarterback. You've got an offensive line that's been nails. Got to make it happen. And if not, these Buffalo fans are like, we've seen this movie before. It's not a good movie to watch.
And the contract for James Cook says the window is now, right? We've got to make sure all pieces are back for Josh Allen to maybe win this thing for the Bills. Final year of that stadium, too, which would be a heck of a way to go out. A look at your AFC East teams, according to Mike Renner here, and the way he ranks them. Odds to win the Super Bowl: Bills at 4, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins.
Thanks for a lot of good divisional games there.
All in the 20s. Welcome back to Spotlight.